what's the story today when I wake up that I want to tell myself that is actually going to change everything? Because if you're listening to all the podcasts and reading all the books, but not being able to tell yourself a new story, trust me, it's never going to happen.
Hey guys, welcome back to this episode of the Veronica Bay Show. Today I'm joined by Marcus Schreier, aka my boyfriend. If you guys follow me on social media, you know him. But if you're someone that just follows the podcast, you will also know him because he was actually on during season 1. And he is someone that I was friends with before dating and someone who inspires me a lot because of the way that he chooses to live his life, because of the outlook and mindset that he has chosen to adopt. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, about finding your purpose, about treating yourself and your body properly. So you're just going to learn today from the mind of Marcus. So thank you, baby, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're happy to be here. We're happy to be here. So we're going to make this fun. We're going to run it through. There are 0 notes. But something very important and inspiring about Marcus was that he chose his path. Okay, life is always going to be pulling you towards things, and you have to be strong enough to say, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to go chase something that feels better. I'm going to really build the life of my dreams. So to give you guys a little bit of backstory, so he's German, and in Germany, after like what we would call maybe high school, you go into actually practicing. Maybe you could explain a little bit better. Your T-Mobile days.
T-Mobile days. Yeah, so in Germany we have like a little bit of a different school system. So we have like, you go to school and then you can kind of like go to college for a job, and that's what I did pretty much at T-Mobile for like 3 years. Because I always wanted to be a professional athlete, so I wasn't really thinking about option B. That's why I kind of like ended up in T-Mobile for like 3 years. But my mom, like I was always raised very strict, and my mom was kind of like forcing me to finish those 3 years. But we were talking yesterday on dinner about the whole situation and how much I hated the job, and like I went to, I would almost say like phases of depression, because I would walk into that job just like hating every single second in that job. But like in those 3 years, I really I was thinking every day, like, how can I make my life better? Like, how can I don't know, like do something that I really love? And I think now looking back at everything, kind of like really enjoying my job, enjoying my life, I am really grateful for what happened and like all of the stuff that I've been through. And I mean, it's been a blessing. You just learn, and sometimes you just don't want it to be how you're planning it, but like everything happens for a reason, and that's, I guess, what happened to me in those 3 years.
And I think that the very important thing here is that a lot of people stay stuck in that moment. I know people, like I walk into places that I haven't been in years and I see the same people working there. And the sad part is that a lot of people are unhappy. They do hate their jobs, but they're not doing anything to change it because of that fear of, what if I fail? I already have something. I'm getting paid here. I'm doing what I have to do, or perhaps that judgment from the people around you. So as Marcus shared, like his mom was like, you need to stay here. You need to finish your 3 years in T-Mobile. That pressure from outsiders that truly just forces you to stay caged in. And you guys know my story, and that I was a news reporter, and that was something huge when I decided to leave my career. I was like, wow, I went to school for 4 years for this. People saw me on TV, like the expectations of just like continuing to do something because it's what's right in other people's eyes. Mm-hmm. That expectation will keep you boxed in. And I think that it was very courageous of you to be like, you know, I'm not happy. I'm gonna do something different. And what he chose was what he currently does, which is health, wellness, fitness. So I want to speak a little bit about starting that journey because, you know, you had never really been a trainer. You had never done anything like that. So what was it like, that transition period of saying, okay, I'm no longer going to be an employee. I'm going to be self-employed. What were maybe some of the biggest challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
I mean, I was 2020 when I finished that period at T-Mobile. So after I was just, okay, I think I'll just go back to school and go study at a university because that was just what I had in my mind or like in my head, or that's the stuff that is going to be taught to you. Like, yeah, if you want to be successful, you got to go like get a college degree and then you basically work at a job. But it was funny that at this time when I just, you know, started going to school again to kind of like, you know, finish my like college degree, it was at that time where I actually got into network marketing back then. And that's pretty much the business that Veronica's in. So I was, you know, kind of like, I liked the idea, but I was just, you know, I was not really successful at what I did. So I'm just not good at, you know, like selling stuff that I really don't believe in. And I kind of like the products, but like I didn't really believe in the whole thing, like deep down in my mind. So I tried this out a little bit, but again, it was not the way I wanted it to be, but I feel like, you know, I was meant to get a lot of like personal development in it at that time. And I learned like, I read a lot of books, I read, you know, different things. I went to seminars. So I listened to all of these successful people speak. And that's pretty much when a lot of times people were talking about finding your purpose, finding your passion. And I was always, well, like kind of like my passion, my purpose is sports, is fitness, is training, working out, living healthy, this and that. But back then, something was still holding me back to go through that path. And it wasn't until I actually was at my like first vacation in years, kind of like away from everything, where I really made a decision for myself to go all in on my passion. And back then I actually wanted to create a fitness app because that was like 2015 or something, 2016. That was the time where like apps were like up and coming. So, you know, I was thinking like maybe doing a fitness app. And I was just thinking, okay, like if I want to do a fitness app, I need to have knowledge. I need to be really good at what I do. And that's kind of like when my whole journey started, when I was like, okay, let me go all in. I'm just going to learn everything about health, everything about diet, nutrition, training, working out, mindset, this and that. And then like I had so much knowledge. That's like when people like were like, hey, like you seem like you have a lot of knowledge. Why don't you just start coaching? And then I was like, well, it was never something I really thought about because I never wanted to be like a classic like personal trainer that works in a gym 24/7. I was always like a free mind. Like, you know, I wanted to have my own time. Like, I don't want to be at one place only. And that's kind of like when my whole career started as a trainer, just like coaching people on like health, fitness, therapeutic stuff. And like, you know, more and more I got into different areas, different topics. First it was nutrition and strength training. Then it was more like, you know, like hormonal health, then the whole mindset aspect, gut health. And now lately, like the last 2 or 3 years, I've gotten really deep into like brain health, brain training, neuro training. And it's just been amazing. Like I really, like we were talking about it, like I just love my job. I just love what I do. And it's just the time, like it's the time aspect for me, you know, like if you just spend your whole day on something that actually means something to you, not only because you do it like for the money, but it actually brings you joy, that's just like the ultimate fulfillment. And like, yes. I'm really grateful that I found my like passion. And for me, it really doesn't feel like work. Like when I work with clients, when I study at least like, you know, like 2 to 3 hours a day. And it's just something I love. Like I hate going to bed knowing, hey, like I didn't learn something new today. And it's just, yeah, I'm blessed. I'm really happy that I found this, and I'm really happy that I had the guts, like the balls, to really do what I love. Because obviously you have self doubt, you have all these negative thoughts. They're always gonna be there, but you just have to do it anyways. And at the end of the day, it's gonna pay off. Like at least for me.
Totally. And I think that something that you mentioned that is crucial and critical to actually finding that fulfillment that you currently have, that I currently have, is going all in, right? He mentioned that, and he also broke down all the different things that he was learning and how passionate he is about learning. And guys, that's because if you decide to half-ass life, life is going to half-ass you. Okay, you're never going to get the full results that you wish to in your life if you are not going all in. So that dedication, the discipline, the commitment, it comes with it, you know. And here you have a man that's speaking to you about, okay, I knew what I wanted to do, and I found my passion, and I went with it, and I ran with it, and now I'm succeeding in it. But don't forget the part of his story where he was working at T-Mobile for 3 years, almost depressed and lost and not understanding life, you know, and then falling into network marketing and also feeling like this isn't for me, but taking the good from it, taking the lessons, diving so deep in that he was able to take the personal development from it and applying it somewhere else. So the reason why I want to highlight that is because there are going to be seasons in your life. And if you hate the season so much and you just fail to actually be in it, you will fail to learn the lessons. Okay, so whatever you're going through today, maybe you're not completely fulfilled, but understand that it's happening for a reason, and just push to do your best and be your best every single day. And let your authenticity shine. Like, who are you for real? You know, I'm sure it wasn't your mom's. Oh my God, my necklaces are backwards. How did you not tell me this? I'm sure it wasn't your mom's dreams and hopes, like, oh, I want my son to be, you know, a trainer or a health coach or anything like that. When she was wanting you to have this real job, she had a different vision for you, but you said, I'm going to have a vision for myself. So the question I want you guys to ask yourself is, what is the vision that I want of my life? When I was able to break free from news reporting, the reason why I knew in my gut that I was like, okay, this is the right call, I need to break free from this career, is because I wanted time freedom. And with news reporting, it was like crazy hours. You work holidays, you work weekends, you work hurricanes. And I was like, okay, this seems like a good idea because I enjoy reporting and curiosity and all these things, but it doesn't align with the vision that I want to have for my life. So think about the vision of your future and then make sure that what you're currently doing is aligning with that. Okay? Another reason why I fell in love with this man is because of his mindset. And we are very similar with like our stories and our childhood and our evolution. And I feel like your mindset has had to grow with every season that you've experienced. So can you speak a little bit on the power of shifting your thinking?
Sure. I mean, every single day we're still like growing, like I think that's the thing. Like you will never reach a point where you're like, okay, like now I've learned everything I need to know. So just on a side note, we're still learning every single day, and I'm still learning every single day. But yeah, as far as mindset goes, I mean, I grew up always being a very passionate athlete. So I always was, like Veronica always says, how you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah, so I was like that in my sport. So I always, like, when I played soccer, I grew up playing soccer for like 7 or 8 years. I always wanted to be the best, and I was the best. I always, like, when I then shifted to like basketball, I always wanted to be the best. So I always had very high expectations of myself, which also goes hand in hand and sometimes being hard on yourself. So for me in my journey, it was really that, like, it was kind of hard first being an athlete and always wanting to be an athlete. Kind of like shifting that over into like the whole business field. Of like just mindset and everything, because I feel like it's sometimes easier to just like, shoot 1,000 shots at a basketball court, basket, than just like, you know, doing other things. So I kind of like had to adjust there and just like take my ambition from my sports that I always had into like my business. You know, I also like just like growing knowledge. So that was kind of like interesting making that shift first. But as far as like the whole mindset aspect goes, I feel like it's something, and I said this in the first episode, I feel like the whole mindset thing is not enough. It's not enough to just know. It's really important to implement things you know. And what I mean by that is it is not enough to know that you need to think positive, which is, I don't know, like a really weird statement. But I think it's important to kind of like make that shift into how do I implement daily practices that will allow me to change my mindset on a single day basis. So for example, from what I did, growing up just like with a single mom that always just wanted the best for me, she could tell me how to be a great mom, but she could not tell me how to live kind of like that fulfilling life that I always wanted. So I kind of like had to learn that on my own. And just like a lot of, you know, like success habits, success mindset, all of these things, I had to kind of like implement that into my own head. So what I did back then, and like still do, is I kind of like brainwash myself every single morning. So kind of like feeding your brain with something that is bringing you value. So for example, what I do in my daily routine is like I said, I'm big on learning. I'm big on growing. I'm big on learning new techniques, things about the body, about health, about the brain. So the first thing I always do is just like, I first take care of myself, because I know like this brings me joy, and like I start the day knowing that I did something well for me and my future, my knowledge, my clients, my athletes. So this is pretty much the way I start my day. And this is also something that I can really recommend you. If you're going through something right now, if you want to change something, just implement little daily routines. Could be like 10 minutes of reading the first 10 minutes of the day. Something good, something that brings you value. Autobiography or something like that's just inspiring to you. It could also be a YouTube video. It could be a podcast. So I'm big on like, you know, just like listening to podcasts in the morning. It could be something. But these little things that you implement on a single day basis, imagine doing that for 1 year straight. I'm telling you, like, you don't have a choice to change your mind. You don't have a choice to change the way you think. And that's just what I think is one of the most overlooked aspects, because I've worked with a lot of clients and everybody's always looking for that quick fix. But mindset is not a quick fix. Mindset is like working out. It's the best example that I can give. If you want to have a good looking body that is trained, that has muscles, that is, you know, defined and lean, you need to have certain routines every single day, or at least a couple times of the week. You need to work out. It's not enough to know the best workout. It's important to really go to the gym and really do the work. And I think this is one of the most overlooked things, because a lot of people think, oh my God, when I go to this seminar, like if I work with this person, he's gonna unlock something in my brain magically that's gonna change everything. But trust me, it's not gonna happen. Like, I've worked with some really good mindset coaches in Germany, also myself. It is always temporary. It's always temporary, and it's actually what you do on a single day basis over a long period of time. And that's pretty much my testimony for success.
Oh my God.
The way I did it.
You're just like, I love hearing him speak because I know his full story. And a quick story about both of us. It was a process to get to where we are today. It was a process to become the happiest people that we are. And, you know, it took a lot of self-awareness. Okay, and I think that both of us are very critical within our own lives. So we're able to say, okay, I'm not good at that. How can I get better? And that's something that's allowed our relationship to flourish too. It's like every time one of us messes up, sometimes it's more me. I stop and I have a moment of reflection and self-awareness and you know, being able to admit your wrongs. So right now in your life, reflect on your everyday basis. Like, what is holding you back? What current habit do you have that's literally stopping you from moving on to the next level? Because we all can. Our lives are a testimony of what progression and consistency and dedication can do in your life. You know, we're in our 20s and we work from home. We have the freedom of time, the freedom to grow our businesses as big as we please. And the only reason why we were able to do this is because we believed in the possibility of living a better and more fulfilled life. And that's what I want you guys to recognize, is that the opportunity is out there. But until you don't believe that you could live a better life, you're going to continue living your current reality. And you just really need to get married to the idea of, I can be someone better. I can do better, you know, but how he said, it takes you, you know, because you could listen to all the podcasts, you could attend all the seminars, but until you don't put the work in, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think one of the most important things that I also had to deal with is learning from your failures, learning from your mistakes. Because like everybody makes mistakes, everybody, you know, like it's like success is never like this. It's always like ups and downs and like, you know, setbacks and mistakes you make, failures you pretty much, you know, that's just gonna happen. And I always say like failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. And I think that's one of the most important things. I know you've probably heard that, but I really mean that. Like, you're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, but it's just, you know, learning from these mistakes, becoming a better human, becoming stronger from your failures, and always telling yourself, you know, when you fail, you just gotta tell yourself, yeah, now I'm really gonna do it. Like, now it's just really the time. And that's always like, I try to translate it from like German to English, what's in my head. But there is like a saying in Germany, like when you fail, this is like, it just needs to like happen.
Propel
like,
you forward.
Propel. Like it really needs to just, you know, it's just gonna happen now. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because the other day I asked my team. So for those of you guys that don't know, I do network marketing. Okay. So I lead a big group of people. We do sales, we do marketing, and a million things in between. And I hit them with a trick question. I wanted to see their responses. And I asked, what do you think is the most important thing? What's the most important part of this business? You know, and some people said that your connections with people, you're this, like everyone tried to throw out these tangibles, but it's like, no. Let's take a step back. What is truly the most important part? You know, some people said self-discipline, which I love it, and I think it's a great one, but you cannot get self-discipline unless you do the personal development. So the answer in my book was personal development, because in order to attain anything, in order to become anyone, you need to do that first. So congrats to those of you guys that are watching or listening, because that's why you're doing this, right? You're listening to a podcast because you want to get better. And I just want to remind you that how Marcus said, it's a process. So just stick to it and just keep going, because I promise you that at some moment you're going to have that moment where you're just like, okay, it all makes sense now. And for a very long time in my life, nothing made sense. Like for a very long time, guys, I was succeeding. I was always doing good. But inside, there was still a piece of me that was just so confused, so lost. And it took me until I'm 26. It took me really until I was like 25 to make sense of everything, to make sense of who I am and about what my purpose is. And I was already succeeding. I had already made my first million. But what I had failed to do was to truly be my most authentic self, to truly ask myself, Veronica, what brings you happiness? Why are you doing what you're doing? How are you showing up every day? Are you putting your heart first, your soul, like what truly makes you happy? And when I started doing that, literally work shifted for me. Work is no longer work. Work is a passion of mine now. But I was always missing and in everyone's eyes, I am very authentic, right? But no, there was still something missing. So just Remember that in this life, in order to truly feel fulfilled and to truly understand and know your purpose and be able to walk in that purpose, you have to first be authentic with you. Okay, it's not about being someone else. It's not about what is everyone else doing and succeeding in. Yes, that will give you a good framework. You could follow the crowd and probably succeed because people are showing you how to do it, but is it what makes you happy? Right? And I think that's Marcus's magic, is that he only does what makes him happy. Yesterday, we were sitting at dinner with friends, and he starts talking about his craft and his neurotraining drills. And we were talking about health, and we're talking about wellness and all these things. And when he speaks, the amount of knowledge that he has, it's taken hours and years to build that. But it's his happiness and it's his purpose. So it comes out effortlessly. And there is something in your life that is meant to flow. There is something in your life that's supposed to come out effortlessly. But a lot of times we are blocking that because we feel like we need to fit a social standard and norm. And we are here to tell you that we did everything that people told us not to do, and we are the happiest we have ever been.
Yeah.
Even our relationship, everyone was like, don't do long distance. Oh my God, this is horrible. And we just stuck to it, and here we are.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's always like that. Like sometimes just like jumping and like doing things that are way out of your comfort zone, like they bring you like the most joy, the most, happiness. And yeah, just like, like of course we can just like, we have easy talks, but trust me, like we were both like you when you were like in Mississippi going back to Miami, like leaving your job. These are all decisions that like, like they demand a certain level of like self-trust, like just, confidence to really make that step. And that was also the same for me. But one thing I think like my mom, I really have to thank my mom for is just kind of like always letting me giving me a lot of freedom. So, I mean, although she was like forcing me to finish those 3 years at T-Mobile, she was always kind of like really believing in me. I don't think she like, like she was always like, okay, kind of like careful with everything, which is normal. She just wants the best for me and my sister. But like deep down, I feel like she always like believed that I was meant for something bigger. And like I really appreciate that she gave me the time to evolve as a human being, because it was not until 24, 25 until I really figured out what I wanted to do. And this is the thing, like just give yourself time. Even if you're 35, what does it matter? Like you're planning on living your life until you're 70, 80, 90, and you're thinking your life is over when you're 35 and you're 40. No, like it's never too late. It's never too late. And especially if you're in your 20s, like if you're in your 20s, you can, like whatever, like just try out different things and like fail at all of them. It's no big deal, as long as you learn from it. And I think this is the most important thing, like erase that loser mentality, that victim mentality that a lot of people have. Because trust me, I mean, I've been there. I've been in this like whole victim state when I was working at that job, and even after I was still in that like, oh my God, why is this all happening to me? Why me? Why me? Why me? But trust me, like there is a bigger plan for you, and just stick to what you love, stick to your passions, stick to what you believe in, what you really want to do, and don't care what other people think about you. That's just the most important thing. Like, do what makes you happy, not what makes other people happy. And that's the most important thing. And
he did mention, the confidence, that it takes like a high level of trust in yourself to make some of these decisions. And, confidence can be built, guys. You just need to be able to recognize that you lack it. And okay, what can I do to become a more confident person? And it's usually just stepping into action. The reason why most people lack confidence is because they've never done anything, in their lives, because they've always been afraid of what people think and if they're going to fail. And what the heck are we so afraid of? We're afraid of all these assumptions that we're making in our head. And if you don't believe in you, who is going to believe in you? So Marcus says, okay, awesome. He had a mom who really believed in him. But I know really successful people that didn't have one soul who believed in them. Mm-hmm. But the difference is that they believed in themselves. And when you have self-belief, you are limitless. I don't need to go ask someone if I could do something, because I believe in myself so much that I can, and I'm going to. And it's all about what you set your mind to and your intentions. You know, if you say, I am going to make this happen, I promise you, if you put the time and the effort, you're going to make it happen. And when you do reach that goal that you reached, that accomplishment is going to transform into confidence. And the more dedicated you become in your life, the more goals you will achieve, the more accomplishments you would have, and the more confident you will become. So don't be like, oh, I've been cursed with this lack of self-belief. Oh, I have been cursed with this negative mindset. We both had it, guys. We both did. I was the biggest victim of my life when I was younger. I was like, why did God give me like this situation? And why was I born into this environment? And I thought all these things. And then one day I woke up and I said, oh my God, like I can change my life. I can change my life through my decisions and what I choose. And I can choose to change the way I look at my situation. And now everything that has ever happened to me is not a pain. It's not a burden. It's part of my journey. Okay, I could have not become the woman I am if everything that happened in my past hadn't happened to me. So embrace your season and your life because it's here for a reason, and just start believing in yourself. Because if in your mind, the only thing you have is a cloud of negativity, you could listen to all the podcasts, you could do all the work, but you're never going to get a better situation because internally you are stuck. So recognize if you are stuck internally, it's time to do that real work, that internal work.
Yeah, maybe one thing to add. I think the most important thing when we talk about things like that, because it's easy for people to tell you, hey, just get over yourself. Just do things. Just be confident. But these are just, like, this is like advice that you're like, okay, but how? Like, how am I supposed to do this? And I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to what story are you telling yourself. So something that I sometimes do with my clients, when they have a lot of, like, let's say somebody has a negative relationship to food, for example, or like just thinks, oh, I'm never going to lose weight or something like that because they've made this experience, is I will literally tell them to write down on the left side of a sheet of paper, hey, write down all of the stories that you tell yourself right now. So they will tell themselves, oh, I've always, like, my whole family is overweight, or like I've done everything on the planet Earth to lose weight and nothing works. Write everything down and then just rephrase what you should tell yourself. Because at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, what's the story today when I wake up that I want to tell myself that it's actually going to change everything? Because if you're listening to all the podcasts and reading all the books, but not being able to tell yourself a new story, trust me, it's never going to happen. So what you want to do is you want to write down. I'm big on tactics. Like, I'm just very big on, like, I'm very rational. So it all comes down to tactics. What are the tactics that you're using to basically change your life? So write down on a sheet of paper on the left side the stories that you're telling yourself right now, make an arrow, and then pretty much rephrase all of these stories. And then every time you catch yourself telling yourself that old story, you just rephrase it. And it's no problem that you catch yourself telling yourself these old stories because it's something that is deep down in your head. So it's all about how can you change that pattern of thinking. And this is one of the tactics that I love to use, and it's super simple and it's really amazing, and because it works. It's just something that works, and it's just neuroplastic changes that you make in your brain to tell you pretty much new stories and reforming the shape of your life.
I love that. And wow. So sometimes we don't know how we got to the place that we got to. So when I hear him saying that, I was like, wow, I wish that when I was 19, I heard a podcast that told me all of this. And when I was experiencing, I would say, some of the darkest moments in my life. It was when I was, you know, news reporting and confused because I was like, I thought this is everything I wanted, but I feel so unhappy. And I was sharing with some of my team the other day that something that I found myself doing during that season was I would just go on Instagram and look up all the inspirational quotes, like everything that said, life isn't over, it's just getting started. Your hardships are the lessons in your life. And I would just literally read all of this and I would take it personal. I was like, okay, I'm actually going to read this, and I would share them, you know? So people were watching me on Instagram thinking that I was this inspirational person when really I was just sharing that inspiration because I needed it in my own life. And I was like, it's helping me so much that it could possibly help other people. I didn't know what I was doing at that time. It just helped me feel a little bit better about myself. And I consumed so much of that content. Like my Explorer page was only, you know, these quotes and motivation and inspiration that I ended up becoming that person. And I ended up really just changing my mind, you know, from the inside out. And what he said about neuroplasticity and just really shaping new experiences in your mind, we can all do that, guys, and it takes time. And just the awareness and the discipline of saying, okay, my brain thinks this way currently, and I'm going to get better results if I start shifting this thinking. So what can I do to shift this thinking? And a lot of times it means cutting people out. Okay, sometimes we have become a person because of our environment. And what shifts do you need to make in your environment? You know, for me, something that my little sister and I always share is that alcohol is a very big depressant for us. Like if we go out and we drink a lot, the next day, like her and I share this in common, that we just feel very depressed and down and negative. And something that I decided in my life was, okay, if this makes me feel this way, why am I going to do that? Okay. And yes, it's a social norm. And yes, it's fun while I'm there. But is this aligning me with the person that I want to be? Do I want to have, you know, depressive thoughts the day after partying? I decided I didn't, right? And a lot of things, little shifts like that helped me a lot in my life. And Marcus helped me. Before he was my boyfriend, he was like a health coach to me. So I want to speak about a few of the main things that current, you know, millennials are doing that are really harming them, just because in the process to evolving to your best self, it is like, it takes intentionality. It's your mind has to grow, your body, your soul, all of it. So as a health coach, what would you say are some of the most self-sabotaging habits millennials have?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about just positive thoughts or like, you know, mindset in general, you cannot not talk about, you know, just like a healthy body. Because if you want to have healthy thoughts, you need to live in a healthy body. And, you know, like when we're talking about that, for example, a lot of our serotonin, so like kind of like our happy hormones, or like our happy neurotransmitter gets actually produced in the gut. So if you have, for example, bad gut health, it's just harder for you to think positive, which is kind of like hard to say, but that's just a fact. So one of the things that I'm big on is just like, you know, cutting out inflammatory foods of your diet and just like really finding out those trigger foods that cause harm in your body. And I mean, for like, I would say like 80% of people, it's just like, you know, great to cut out like things like gluten, like foods that are like sprayed with glyphosate. So for example, I can show you a quick story of my personal journey when I came here to the States now. Is I never really had gut issues in Germany, okay? So I just, you know, like we always talk about balance. So for us, it's really big on, you know, not going too extreme when we're talking about nutrition and like diet and everything. So we like to have, you know, like a diet, like dessert here and there. And especially in the beginning when we were like kind of like, you know, going through a lot, we were almost out to eat almost every single day, and we would almost cheat every single day, which was kind of like good. We needed to have that, but I just felt changes in my gut health, and like there was a point where I was just like, okay, like I gotta really get back to kind of like, you know, like dessert maybe like once or twice a week, and that's it. And I just could just like really feel the changes in my, not only my mindset, but also just like my body, that my body was really reacting bad to these types of foods. And a lot of it, like comes down to like how healthy is your gut. And I just felt like my whole digestion was just like really off. And this was one of the big, like this is every time I work with an athlete or like a client, I always look at their gut health, which is super important to kind of like take care of and really cut out foods that don't like suit the person. And I'm not big into like, absolute statements. So I'm not saying like, sugar is bad or like gluten is bad or this is bad, but I'm just telling you from experience that these are the types of foods that I figured out for most people can definitely make a huge, change in their health, in their mindset, and just like in general in their whole, life. So that's the first thing that I would say, just like, really figure out which foods are causing harm, and kind of like are not feeling good to your body. And one of the things that I always teach my clients is just like to listen to their body and kind of like really exploring how they feel about certain foods or certain routines that they implement. So yeah, I think
Can I add
this
something?
is one of the most important things.
Yeah, just to add something real quick, like a lot of us have been eating foods that are so bad for us for so long that we don't know what it feels like to feel good. So an elimination diet for someone that hasn't tried any of this before would be very good. I did that once before I even met Marcus, and it was just like I cut off so many things and then I slowly reintroduced them to see what truly was harming me. So for me, dairy, it's like 100% harms me. I break out. It doesn't do well with me. Gluten, I bloat. It's extremely inflammatory for me. And now that I know that, it's just about making the better decision, right? If I know that something harms me, why am I going to put it into my body? Your body, I always say this, it's the vessel that God gave you to live out this human experience. So to me, it only makes the most sense to take care of it and be intentional about it. And sometimes the shifts that we make are so small. We say, oh, we don't like to eat gluten, but we buy gluten-free pasta and we have our gluten-free options. But it's something that makes such an internal difference for us. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, nothing to add there. I mean, one thing, like I said, I'm really big on is just like living a balanced life, a sustainable diet, a sustainable life with sustainable routines. Because same with mindset, give yourself time to change. Same with diet, like just not think about, okay, how can I lose the most weight in 6 weeks? Think about how do I want to look in 6 months, in 12 months, in 2 years, in 3 years. Like just think long term. And like there is no, like to me, it makes no sense of cutting out, like foods that you actually enjoy out of your diet completely, So I don't know, like I'm not big into like sweets, but I'll eat it with Veronica. She's like she's the dessert queen.
Tooth. It's horrible, but it's making those better choices. Like for example, the other day we were outside and I wanted ice cream, and there's a market in my building, and I was just like, I just really want this Ben and Jerry's ice cream. But when I walked in, instead of getting the small pint, I got the small personalized sized ice cream because I was like, I don't want to have the temptation. I want to fulfill my craving, but I want to make the smarter choice. Because if I have that pint of ice cream in my house, I am going to eat it. Okay, same thing with like our pantry. Like there are no snacks, temptations around here because I'm just trying to, stay in the game. But if I ever feel like my heart needs this sweet, I will have it. Because also life is short, and when you're super strict with yourself, you end up not enjoying the process. So I've gotten to a point where I'm grateful for my health, for my mindset, but I'm never super critical about it because we're all growing, guys. And I think that's the most amazing idea to truly take hold of, is that it's a process. all of it. Your growth in every single area will not happen overnight. And the people that are at the top, trust me, what you see is the tip of the iceberg. You don't see the million other things that have gone on in their lives that are now allowing them to live that reality. And I always share that with, the 4 girls that I do my business with, the real deal, Isa, Joe, Bianca. People are like, oh, like they live these incredible lives. But when we started this business, we all had a lot of issues, a lot of problems, a lot of things that we felt like, okay, we need to solve, and we're going to give this business our all so that we can live a better life. And no one knows that side, right? And we share it sometimes, but we'll never share all the details. So just remember that even the people at the top have had their low lows, and your low lows don't mean you can never live a different life. They're just here, and God is sort of testing you and asking, like, how disciplined are you willing to be? Do you truly want change? Are you going to make the better decisions in your life so you can get better results?
Yeah, and I think also when we're talking about like back to health, I think the biggest issue that I see when we're talking about just like health in general, diet, weight loss, muscle gain, is that people are just misinformed. People are focusing a lot of times on minor things that really don't mean anything compared to the big things. They let the big things out of the picture. So I'm just gonna give you a quick example. So, for example, I worked with a client, and like she was always super afraid of sugar. Like, oh my God, I can't eat an apple because it's like, like fructose. Sugar is so bad. Sugar makes me gain weight. Or like, carbs. Oh my God, I can't eat carbs because carbs make you fat, especially after 6 p.m. Like all of these like rumors or myths that are out there that people tend to focus on. But like they won't do anything compared to like the big nuggets. So like one big thing, for example, for me is having sufficient protein in your diet. Just knowing exactly what foods cause your body harm. Then just like seeing, okay, how are you actually living your day? When are you the most hungry? It makes no sense if you're super hungry in the morning to fast. Like, oh my God, intermittent fasting, the new holy grail of fat loss. All of these things and like all of these like weird like misconceptions that people have, I think is one of the biggest problems that we see, that I've seen as a coach. And like I said, back to the topic of tactics. What are your tactics? I think it's all about tactics. It's about tactics in the area of mindset. It's about tactics in health, and just knowing what to do, like knowing exactly a plan, what to do, what to eat, what not to eat, what to do. And that's why I think it's always important to kind of like really know what you're doing, because a lot of people are just like so misinformed and like so misguided by all of the stuff they see. And a lot of times it's it's exactly like these like influencers that post their weird workouts where they have like these weird like mini band kickbacks with like a hula hoop like backflip or whatever, and like they've just been genetically blessed with their body, and like it's not their workout that actually makes them look like that, but it's just their genetics, but they sell it as if it is the workout, or as if it is their new protein bar that they're selling, or their new supplement. And like I said, I get really like pissed off.
Marcus is an influencer hater, and he ended up dating one. So how did that happen?
No, I just think that people are just like really misguided by a lot of people. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And the statements that they make is just sometimes so like I just shake my head with the knowledge that I have to make a claim of like, oh my God, like drink celery juice every morning because it's gonna heal cancer and all of these things, where I'm just like, oh my God, like this is such a like weird topic. And I mean, I'm big on mindset, so if it helps you, just keep on doing it. But like just from a scientific perspective, a lot of the things that exist in the world of social media are just like like misguiding and like misleading so many people.
I think a good thing that he said was, what makes you feel good? Okay, because too many of us are doing things that make us feel good short-term health-wise, but make us feel like crap long-term wise, right? So fried food is a big one. You eat that fried chicken and you feel like you're in heaven, But every single person I knows that fried food makes them feel bad. And you get the acid reflux and you just upset stomach and this and that. So just don't do the things that don't make you feel good. Okay, that short-term satisfaction of, oh, I need to eat this, it's not going to, I don't know if you guys could hear that, but they're constructing in the building next door. So we're going to wrap this up soon. But guys, just do what's right for your life. Do what's good for your body and just really push yourself every day to do better. Okay, because it's through progression that you're going to find fulfillment. If you're stuck in the same kind of life for a very long period of time, that is unmotivating. Okay, so just really get committed to your process and to your evolution. Do you have any last words, Mr. Marcus?
Sounds good. No, I think we talked about everything. I mean, one take-home message is just give yourself time. Give yourself time. Nothing happens overnight. Whether it is health, whether it's mindset, it always comes down to what you do on a single day basis. Number one, like give yourself time. Number two, like I said, what are the tactics that you're using to change your mindset, to change your health? You need to have a plan. You need to have certain strategies that you'll use that will help you find that path, help you find that way. And that's what I really do with my clients. I always not just tell them, hey, like just be positive, like just be happy. I'm just giving them, look, make a list, do this, do that. Give them tactics so they know exactly what to do. And I think this is something that has helped me on my path, since I'm like very rational and I always need to understand how everything works. And this has really helped me just like changing everything and becoming the person that I am today.
I love that. So pretty much stop winging life and become intentional about whatever it is that you want. And just remember, guys, to be your most authentic self. Stop selling your soul. That's what my pastor said yesterday. Just temporary happiness, to the temporary money. Find your fulfillment, because we are in this life. It's like a long-term thing, right? You want to be happy long-term, so don't be afraid to chase that. So thank you to everyone that tuned in. We appreciate having you here. And most importantly, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, make sure to share it with a friend who you feel needs to hear this information. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you loved it. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. Bye.